I come from the arts and cultural world, so I used to make films that were very pop culture, and they were actually very popular. But then, with time I realized, shouldn't we use this art and culture for something beyond arts and culture? And that's when I decided to be more activist and make films for social justice, but use the creative resistance as the theme for my future films. I set up an organization called Cultures of Resistance Network, and I've been making films that show how creativity can push people, because when you talk about politics, people just like get turned off. But through a song or a beautiful photo or an amazing film, you can really touch people's hearts. I think it's a very effective way to produce social justice. My topics are always very personal. It's like all of a sudden you have personal experiences that really just push me. Like the Western Sahara, I didn't know anything about Western Sahara. So I went to the film festival to show my film on Syrian refugees. And I was the recipient of so much hospitality and generosity from these people who don't even have a home, don't even have a state, because they live under occupation, and they are now in refugee camps in Algeria. That's where the festival was taking place. And I was just so humble with the experience and so honored and just so overwhelmed that people with so little can be so kind to, Europeans, Americans, and people from wealthy countries. And then I just felt I had the obligation to do a little something, to show my gratitude. So I made a film for them. Yeah, and it's called Life is Waiting, Resistance and Referendum in Western Sahara. The Syrian film I also made because I felt like, these refugees, the title of the film is When Elephants Fight, the Grass Suffers. And I feel all these refugees and, displaced people during wars, that's what they are. They're the grass, You have all these big powers fighting the elephants, and the ones who really end up dead are the innocent. And they become refugees and displaced internally and also outside. So I also decided to make a film for them. Well, when you go from pop culture to political, first of all, the world like shuts the door. I used to be the darling of the press and the film festivals, and then when I started, making films about things that matter and becoming more serious, we were like, oh. But it's a full circle, because I became very much aggressive and I wanted to really work on human rights. But now I realize that it's true. Arts and culture is the way for you to promote, human rights, women's rights, children's rights, ecology, and protect the environment. So now I'm very much about the arts and culture, and in more subtle ways. And I think this new film that we are making here in Bulgaria is going to show, the power of arts and culture. I'm a very adventurous kind of person, so I'm moved by my gut feeling. And to me, at this moment, to make films is about collaborating with creative people, and it can happen, anywhere in the world. And I feel that this is what is interesting, this kind of collaborative effort. And this film I'm making was shot in Burkina Faso in West Africa. My cameraman was Spanish, my editor is Bulgarian, and the person who's gonna do all the music score, he's Iranian. And I'm from Brazil with Korean descent. So it's like a very alive way of showing that it's about global solidarity, and it's about participatory filmmaking too. I have lots of volunteers doing translations and helping us, scout for footage. And all of a sudden, it's not a film by me, it's a film by hundreds of people because we are all working together. Yeah, people ask, to be an activist filmmaker, isn't that dangerous? It's definitely dangerous because a lot of times people think it's an adventure, but there is something that is real. War is a real thing, and state terrorism is real. So sometimes I get into sketchy situations, like we were going to make a film about the Gaza Freedom Flotilla, all these boats going to Gaza to deliver, humanitarian aid. And the Israeli commandos, they sent, commandos, to attack all the boats, and they killed 9 people on my boat, and that was really like shocking because we knew that maybe we would go to jail or they would use tear gas or, you know, but we never expected them to come in the middle of international waters in the middle of the night and start shooting people. And my cameraman from Serbia at that time, he used to say, "Oh, Yara, you're so, bombastic with this fear that something can happen. There's no way they can take over a boat with hundreds of people." And I was like, "You don't understand. These people are like, merciless." And he got to witness himself that this was not an adventure, this was war, and so in a way, I fear for the camera crew, and all the people working with me, because if people shoot me, I know I'm getting, I'm taking this confrontation responsibly, and I'm very aware. But a lot of young people, sometimes they go to very war-torn countries and conflict zone with me, thinking that it's going to be an adventure, but a lot of times they realize this is not an adventure, this is real state terrorism, and but I think it's important for people to have the courage to go and see what's happening on the ground, because what we see through media a lot of times is completely not real, so you only get to see things when you're on the ground. Well, when we were on this boat, I knew that the Israeli army, if they came, they would confiscate all the cameras and media cards and tapes and everything. So I had told my Serbian cameraman, use the small SD card, not the big HD card. And I thought he was going to forget because things were so crazy, but he actually did. And since because he was blue eyes and white and European, the Israeli commanders were the government, after they took us all to jail, they were more concerned about the Muslims and the people with the beard and the Turkish people. So my Serbian cameraman, he hid the SD cards behind the elastic of the underwear. And we were the only people that managed to get footage out of the Israeli raid and attack. And we screened at United Nations, and it was an uproar internationally because when the government of Israel kills Palestinians, nobody cares. But this is the importance of global solidarity, because we had Swedish and British and Americans and English, and all these international people got to witness the brutality of a state terrorist government. That's why it became international news. And that's why it's so important to get people from all walks of lives and all nationalities to work together, because the people in Western Sahara, they're not going to be able to do by themselves. The people in Palestine, the people in Kashmir, the people in West Papua, everybody needs support, international support, to advance human rights.